with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, there's quite a chill in the air at the moment and there's more cold weather to come as we go into the weekend. Also a few showers pushing through. That's because we have a cold Arctic maritime air mass piling in from the north. Now, with that, there's also quite a bit of cloud and rain across the eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England at the moment. A lot of that is going to push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away towards the east into the North Sea as we go through the night. Elsewhere, some drier, at times clearer weather, but like I said, quite a few showers piling down on that northerly wind. Where we get some clear skies and in shelter from the brisk wind across parts of Scotland, we could see temperatures dipping close to, perhaps even a little bit below freezing. Elsewhere, because of the brisk winds, temperatures not dropping too low, but nonetheless a cold start to the day for many tomorrow. Plenty of showers piling in across northern parts of Scotland. When these reach higher ground, a good chance that we're going to see some sleet and snow over the peaks in particular. Meanwhile, across Northern Ireland, it's a showery start to the day. Also showers across parts of Wales and southwest England. Across more central parts of England, it's largely dry, some early sunshine as well. Across eastern parts, though, a bit cloudier and it could be a bit damp first thing too. The rain, though, will clear away towards the east, and then we end up in, well, a bit of a showery setup in areas exposed to that northerly wind. So northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. Plenty of showers here, and they could still be wintry over the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, drier, sunnier, but feeling cold, especially in the wind. Could see gales in some exposed eastern coastal parts. Then a cold night as we go through into Sunday, so a bit of frost for some. And then it gets off to a fine start on Sunday, but we are going to see cloud pushing in from the northwest, and it's going to turn wet and blustery as well. Now into next week, it's looking quite mixed, so some rain at times, but also some dry weather and temperatures rising eventually as we go towards the end of the week. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health, Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News, where I speak up for you, the forgotten majority. Coming up on tonight's show, Britain's broken borders wreak havoc once again as the Epping sex attacker Migrant is mistakenly released from prison. That's right, this is actually happening in modern Britain. Are the government completely incapable of keeping us safe? That's a question we'll be debating tonight. Plus, nearly 2 million foreign-born citizens are now claiming welfare benefits, costing you, the British taxpayer, more than £10 billion every year. Is it time that we start to put British people first? And after the grooming gang inquiry was thrown into chaos this week, Jess Phillips is somehow still clinging onto her job. But with the new chair not expected to be decided for months, has the Labour government already failed the rape gang victims and survivors? And lastly, in our final segment, Mad in Conversation, I'm going to be speaking to Reform's UK's only female Member of Parliament, Sarah Pochin, as she explains why she thinks Britain needs to follow Portugal's lead by introducing a ban on the burqa. That is Friday Night with Matt Goodwin, starts right now. Now, I'll also be joined tonight by my panel, commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and political commentator, Martin Abrams. As ever, as always, I want to know your views tonight at gbnews.com/your say. And, of course, you can find us over on X at GB News. But now it's time for the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories: an asylum seeker who was accidentally released from prison where he was serving time for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl boarded a London-bound train, according to Essex Police. Sir Keir Starmer says the mistaken release is totally unacceptable and the government is supporting police trying to track him down. A prison service officer was removed from duties after the convicted sex offender was accidentally released from jail. Video of him is circulating. It's footage taken of him earlier today when he was last seen by a member of the public. 41-year-old Kabatu had been staying at the Bell Hotel in Essex, with the sexual assault incident fueling weeks of protests at the site. A manhunt has been launched. It's understood Hadush Kabatu was being released from prison. He was due to be immediately deported. He was released on the expectation that he'd be picked up by immigration enforcement. The Ministry of Justice has said releases in error are incredibly rare, but we take them extremely seriously. They say we are urgently investigating how this incident occurred. An officer's been removed from discharging duties while the investigation is ongoing. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says it's catastrophic.
We certainly need a public inquiry into how this dangerous illegal immigrant, who is also a child sex offender, got released. We also need an urgent apology from Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood and Justice Secretary David Lammy, who have presided over this fiasco. It is an absolute disgrace that this incompetent Labour government has allowed this dangerous man out onto our streets, and this evening he is posing a risk to children around Essex.
In other news, a Sudanese asylum seeker has been found guilty of murdering a hotel worker on a railway station platform in Walsall. Deng Chul Magic stabbed Rhiannon White 23 times with a screwdriver on a platform at Bescot Stadium railway station in October last year. She died 3 days later in hospital. And Sir Keir Starmer urged allies to finish the job on frozen Russian assets by using them to strengthen Ukraine's defences, as he sought to rally support for Kyiv amid stalled peace efforts. The Prime Minister also condemned Vladimir Putin's ludicrous demands for Ukrainian land as a non-starter as he convened a meeting of the so-called Coalition of the Willing today. Sir Keir Starmer says allies had agreed a clear plan for the rest of the year on supporting Ukraine during that meeting. He met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a bilateral meeting in Number 10 today ahead of the Coalition of the Willing meeting, a group of more than 30 countries pledging support for Kyiv. The talks come as Vladimir Putin steps up attacks on civilians, including a strike on a nursery full of children this week. leaders discussed fresh ways to strengthen Ukraine's defences and further isolate Russia on the global stage. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening, welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News. Now, here are two things that happened in broken Britain today, just one day. First, an illegal migrant from Sudan was found to have brutally murdered 27-year-old mother Rhiannon White in Walsall. He should never have been in the country to begin with. After stalking Rhiannon from her shift at the Migrant hotel that he was staying in, Deng Chol Majek pounced under the cover of darkness, stabbing Rhiannon more than 20 times in the head with a screwdriver. At least one of the blows was so violent that it penetrated her brain. Rhiannon died 3 days later, surrounded by her family in hospital, leaving her young son without a mother and a nation demanding answers as Britain's broken borders claimed another innocent life. And then just hours later, another illegal migrant who should also never have been in this country hit the headlines as the Epping migrant sex attacker who sparked protests across the country was accidentally released from prison. Haydush Kabatu arrived in the UK from Ethiopia on one of the small boats. He was placed in the Bell Migrant Hotel in Epping, Essex. Kabatu went on to sexually assault a 14-year-old child in broad daylight, sparking local and national protests from concerned mothers and fathers who are utterly fed up with living with the consequences of our open borders experiment. Well, fast forward to today, when he was due to be transferred to a migrant detention centre ahead of his deportation. Incredibly, astonishingly, Kabatu was accidentally released from HMP Chelmsford instead, with various reported sightings of the fugitive in Chelmsford town centre shortly after his escape. The latest line is that he boarded a London-bound train from Chelmsford at lunchtime today, making his way to the capital city. As things stand, that monster is once again roaming our streets. The British state incompetent, completely unable to control what is happening in our country. It is nothing short of a total disgrace. These are just two of countless shocking examples of migrant madness here in Britain. Why are these men even in our country to begin with? And how many more will we hear about in future news bulletins? Britain's future looks less certain than ever. One thing I'm certain about, as you know, is that we must push back against this uncontrolled mass migration madness before it is too late. Well, we are now joined by businessman and activist Adam Brooks, who is live outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. Adam, just give us a flavour of the mood. You've been documenting, tracking this case from the very beginning. How are local people feeling about this?
There's a lot of anger. And let me tell you now, I've just got to the Bell Hotel and there is about 150 people behind me. The chants of get them out, save our kids are ringing out. Everyone is in disbelief that our authorities can be this ridiculous, that this country can be so lax with the security of its women and its children. Let's remember that this judge, when sentencing Haydush Kabatu, said that he's a dangerous man and he risks further crime. Now he is somewhere in London and women and children are at risk. And this is just unbelievable. I can see this protest today escalating, if I'm honest. More and more people are pulling up. The anger is off the charts. You can hear the chanting in the background, Matthew. It's just surreal. I feel like we're in a movie. You know, this country cannot be, can't be this mad. It really can't. And
Adam, how many local people are down there, and what's your best guess as to how this protest is going to evolve in the hours and days ahead?
Look, there's 150 people or so behind me. They're playing music and they're chanting at the moment. But as I just said, there are cars pulling up. There are people walking up behind me and that. So, I think this is going to become quite a big protest later tonight.
And what's your read, do you think, more generally on where the country's at? Because, as I say, this has been a remarkable week. We haven't only had the accidental release of this illegal migrant. We've had the illegal migrant from Sudan who was found guilty of murdering Rhiannon White. We've been given the information on the small boat numbers. They're now higher already this year than the total last year. We've had the one-in, one-out case with the Iranian who was removed from the UK back to France and then came back into the UK in one of the small boats. All of this in 1 week. I mean, what's your read on the national mood?
The national mood, people are starting to wake up, and I hate that term, Matt, but at the end of the day, every day I'm posting either a crime or a conviction from one of these so-called asylum seekers or illegal immigrants. We have a terrible problem, especially sex crimes. We are importing people that do not know how to behave around our women and our children. And the national mood, you know, reflects that now. They are waking up. People are scared and people are angry. And the fact that we are paying for these people as well via our taxes, you know, enough is enough. This Labour government needs to get a firm hold on this problem, call a national emergency and sort this out, because, you know, it's Epping today and it'll be another town tomorrow. Communities are being ripped apart by these crimes, Matt.
Absolutely. Well, this is Adam Brooks down there on the ground. We're going to stay with Adam over the next hour or so, just in case things do indeed continue to escalate. I just want to bring in the panel, commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and political commentator Martin Abrams. Lara, you couldn't make it up. This is absolutely ridiculous.
No, you couldn't. And I think every time I understand how dysfunctional the British state is, you know, they prove they're worse than I thought. I think there's a bigger story here. I was reading before I came on a paper by David Spencer at Policy Exchange. Wrongful prison releases have become an epidemic that no one is talking about. The last set of data we have shows that they increased by about 100% last year. So obviously this is a headline story. This is someone that's really scary to have on the streets. But potentially every day, roughly, we had about 300 last year, people are being released by accident. They should have been going to see lawyers, they should have been going to appointments. Instead, they're being allowed back onto the streets. And
do you think that the governor of this prison should indeed be made to resign, or do you think it could even go higher than that, and we will see people over the weekend calling even for the likes of David Lammy and others to step down?
I can't see why the governor wouldn't resign over this. You know, one of your main jobs as the governor of prison is to make sure that you keep track of your prisoners. Prisoners go missing in the system all the time. So I think there are real questions to be answered at the top. It's worth noting, we were promised an inquiry on Khalif's escape months and months ago. We still haven't had that fed back. I think, you know, I would like to see the governor resign, but that feels like the least of it. I want to see the Justice Minister explain what's going on.
Well, Martin Abrams, let me bring you in. What's your read as to the repercussions of this? Because this is not only an embarrassment for the British state, which looks basically incompetent in the face of this illegal migration crisis, it's also a pretty damning indictment on the justice and legal system.
Well, Matt, after the Caerphilly by-election disaster for Keir Starmer, his day's gone from a disaster to a catastrophe in basically the era that we've seen at HMP Chelmsford. But you know, this is an absolute disaster for the British state. But this goes a lot deeper. You know, we need to look back as to what's happened to our prison system and our judicial system. This is the result of multiple decades of underfunding, of privatisation of our justice and prison system. And that's why Lara is absolutely correct. There's almost 300 accidental releases. You know, that famous one at Wandsworth prison, Khalif, the guy that was then charged with spying and things like that. You know,
Daniel Khalif.
Daniel Khalif. It is an absolute shambolic affair, and what we need is more investment in our prison system.
Absolutely. I'm going to come back to you in a moment, Martin. I just want to read out this statement from Essex Police, because I think the folks at home are going to want to hear this. We were informed by the prison service, they say, at 12:57 p.m. today of an error this morning surrounding the release of an individual. As a result of that, we've launched a search operation to locate them and are working closely with partner agencies. These fast-paced inquiries have shown that the man boarded a London-bound train at Chelmsford railway station at 12:41 p.m. We understand the concern the public would have regarding this situation and can assure you we have officers working to urgently locate and detain him. Martin, is that going to reassure people at home looking on? To be frank, I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so. And, you know, I said before we come on air, there needs to be proper accountability for this, because there's a massive mistrust with politicians and the wider establishment at the moment. And that's because when something like this happens, it's quickly swept under the carpet and no one is made responsible. David Lammy, in my opinion, is at serious risk here.
Lara, where does the Labour Party go from here? Because as Martin said, it's not just a Caerphilly by-election, it's also not just the illegal migration crisis spiralling out of control, numbers never been higher, as we learned this week. We've got the grooming gang inquiry in total chaos. We've had the one-in, one-out shambles with the guy being removed back to France, only to come back into the UK in one of the small boats. I mean, what on earth is going to be going on in number 10 Downing Street right now?
I mean, it's a fascinating time to be a journalist because every week we're having conversations about, you know, could things get worse for Labour? And then things get worse for Labour. It's amazing. I'd say Starmer's last 5 or 6 weeks in government would have toppled any noughties government. They've been that bad in the media, and he's limping on. I think somebody in the next couple of weeks is going to have to go. I'm not sure with David Lammy, I'm not sure with Jess Phillips, but they're going to have to...
Angela Rayner only just went, right? I mean, now it's got to be somebody else. Somebody else is going to have to go.
True, but Rayner didn't... It could be Keir Starmer. I mean, a lot of the MPs I'm talking to from Labour want Keir Starmer to go. I'm hearing that very frequently. But Jess Phillips wasn't a hated figure. Yeah. She wasn't someone that had betrayed the public in the way that Jess Phillips has.
Yeah.
And I think, therefore, her resignation meant nothing to the public when she went.
The interesting thing, Martin, I've got another statement we're going to read out to the viewers in a moment, but the interesting thing about Jess Phillips, I was struggling to think, if this involved any other inquiry, as we saw with the grooming gangs, victim survivors saying they've lost faith in the Labour government, a minister would surely go. But yet, with this particular scandal, in this particular week, you know, Labour seems to just be sort of carrying on regardless.
I cannot see how this current administration can continue to preside over this inquiry. There is such a deep level of mistrust from many of the survivors and the victims, and, you know, I think they need a fresh start.
Martin, let me just read the viewers this statement from the Ministry of Justice has told GB News that it's looking into reports that Epping migrant sex attacker Hadush Kebatu has been accidentally released from jail. A prison service spokesperson said, "We are urgently working with police to return an offender to custody following a release in error at HMP Chelmsford. Public protection is our top priority and we have launched an investigation into this incident." Well, we will keep you posted with the latest shocking example of broken Britain. But coming up next, nearly 2 million foreign-born citizens are now claiming benefits, according to a damning new study, and it's costing British taxpayers £10 billion over the entire year. Is it time to start putting British people first? We'll be debating that with a top expert who indeed did that study. I'll see you in just 1 minute.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
MTV has been axed. It's going to close all of its music channels around the world, except in the US as part of massive cuts. Mike, this is a big thing for Mark. So, Mike, the thing is that stars including Kelly Brook, Emma Willis, Cat Deely, Greg James and Joel Dommett all got on the station in their early careers. And for you, this is a big moment.
I was living in New York when it started, and my friends couldn't believe. I was ringing them up and telling them about this video channel. Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. That video was made in the street on First Avenue, near my apartment in New York. And, of course, favourite pub question is always, what was the first music video on MTV? The answer is... Radio killed the radio star. Video killed the Boogles.
Yes.
Was it the
Buggles?
I'm really upset that MTV is shutting, but I can't remember the last time I watched it, and I think that might be the problem.
Well, sorry, I'll show my maturity now.
Okay.
In the old days, there was just one MTV with all these great videos, you know, Paul McCartney, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
In recent years, they've streamed it into MTV 70s, MTV 80s, and MTV 70s is regularly on my TV at home in every room when I'm feeling good.
Oh, I bet it is. But also they branched out into like reality television shows.
Yeah.
16 and Pregnant, MTV Cribs.
And I think that's the thing that they're keeping.
Yeah.
But it is the streaming service.
Yes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin on GB News, the People's Channel. Now, at least 1.9 million foreigners are claiming welfare benefits here in Britain, with the estimated cost to the taxpayer as high as £1 billion every month. And that figure only looks likely to grow, while it was revealed in July that there were 1.26 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit, having risen from 883,000 in 2022. New data obtained by the Centre for Migration Control, based on the data from the Office for National Statistics, shows that hundreds of thousands of foreign nationals are now claiming all kinds of benefits beyond universal credit. Between March 2022 and March 2025, the UK spent £24 billion on universal credit payments to households containing non-UK nationals, which has led figures, including Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, to suggest that only British people should be eligible for welfare benefits going forward. Let me know what you think about that. I'm joined now by Rob Bates, a research director at the Centre for Migration Control, who uncovered these shocking statistics earlier this week. Rob, you're a friend of the channel and the show. What is it here that you find particularly significant? Because the numbers that I'm reading out almost every week now are just so mind-numbingly big. You know, 1.9 million, £10 billion. I mean, just tell people at home, what do they really need to know here about this key find?
So I think you're right. We've had a series of news stories now just showing how much this has got out of control. I think the really important point that people at home need to appreciate is the percentage of foreign nationals that hold this status, which is called indefinite leave to remain, that are claiming universal credit, is currently about 1 in 2, between 1 in 2 and 1 in 3 individuals with that status are claiming some form of benefit in the UK.
So 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 of the people that the state has given indefinite leave to remain to, they have that status, are claiming some form of welfare benefit.
That's exactly right. So of the number of people that the state has said, yes, you can stay indefinitely, we're not going to sort of require you to show that you're working, require that you show that you're making a contribution to the country, almost half of them are now claiming some form of state support. And the really important reason why this needs to be publicised is we are, of course, sitting on the ticking time bomb, which is the Boris wave, where in the coming years we will see up to 800,000 individuals begin to claim this indefinite leave to remain status, which will entitle them to benefits. And if the ratio continues as it currently is, we could see hundreds of thousands more people being added to the welfare bill. And this is a situation where, yes, of course, we have a problem with many Brits claiming welfare where perhaps they don't need to. But I really think that there is not really a logistical or logical or fair case for foreign nationals, people who have normally come to work in this country, to be claiming any state support whilst they're here.
Now, this is the policy, indefinite leave to remain, that Reform have said they basically want to scrap that. They want to restrict welfare benefits to British people. Labour have said, no, you can't do that. That would be terrible. And Keir Starmer has said that would be racist. But what you're saying is if we keep this policy and all of those Boris wave migrants who came into the country after 2021 become eligible to stay here indefinitely, based on these figures, it's likely that somewhere between 1 in 3 or even potentially up to half of them might end up taking more welfare benefits from the system, imposing billions in costs on the British people all over again.
Yeah, and this is a situation that will cost the British taxpayer hundreds of billions over these migrants' lifetime. And I think, unfortunately, we've been far too lenient with this system. I really don't see how this system, called indefinite leave to remain, actually serves the British taxpayer in any way, shape or form. It's effectively a means for individuals to get a handout from the British state despite not having properly contributed and really paid into the system. So I think we need to have a recognition that actually individuals that don't hold British citizenship, that are citizens of another country, do not have a God-given right to be able to have their lifestyle and their life choices supported by the British taxpayer.
Rob, let me just tell you something else that happened this week. UK taxpayers are stumping up millions of pounds to promote contraception in Pakistan. A staggering £74 million is being splashed on a project, I'm quoting directly here, to promote the sale of branded contraceptives through shops and pharmacies in Pakistan. Another £13 million is going towards identifying cultural barriers to modern contraceptives. And this is all part of the Foreign Office's £111 million Accelerating Family Planning in Pakistan programme, and that's from the Taxpayers Alliance, another sort of independent think tank. What do you think of those numbers? £10 billion on welfare for people who aren't even British, £111 million going to Pakistan to fund contraception. What do you make of that?
I think we now see that we have a system in Britain where our political class, our media class, are more obsessed with improving welfare around the world and improving the lives of individuals in far-flung countries than they actually are in serving the interests of the people who elect them to Parliament, who have lived in this country, have generations maybe of ancestors in this country, and really are the people that are getting a really hard deal at the moment, are facing tax rises in the budget coming forward, have seen potential cuts to welfare, have seen tax rises on inheritance tax with farms and VAT introduced on private schools as well. So let's put the British people first for once.
Well, let's also bring in tonight's panel, commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and political commentator Martin Abrams. Martin, if I can come to you first, these numbers for people at home, struggling with energy bills, struggling with food prices, struggling with council tax, potentially even tax rises coming next month. These numbers don't make any sense to people out there. $10 billion a year on welfare benefits of people who aren't even British. $100 million to Pakistan to help people buy condoms. What on earth's going on?
Well, Matt, it is a bit of a non-story, unfortunately.
How's that a non-story?
Because the scandal here really is that many of these migrants with indefinite leave to remain are working very hard. Okay, 41%, this is what Rob forgot to mention when you just interviewed him, 41% of these migrants are in work claiming benefits.
So 59% aren't. So that's the percentage, and we've got 1.8 million foreign nationals in this country who aren't working. That actually shows the fallacy of.
If I just say, let me come back.
Is that right? Most are not in work.
That tallies with the percentage of the UK population, British nationals, that are on benefits. About 38% of those are claiming in-work benefits.
Can I just...
So the scandal here... Let me just finish. The scandal here...
For me, because I don't understand the point, in that are most of the people who are here not working?
The scandal here is that 41% are in work, doing jobs like working in care homes.
So most are not working.
Working in care homes, cleaning our streets,
Martin,
cleaning our hospitals.
If most of them are not working, that's a fairly significant...
They're not getting paid enough. They need to get paid more.
Lara Brown would like Lara Brown.
The story is not about the 41%, it's about the 59%.
It is.
I don't think...
Take away 49% and the number shrinks massively.
Well, if we talk about the
59, I mean, that's above half. I mean, that's a very, very significant number of people who are not working. And I don't really care about the parallels of British people, because the point of mass migration, the lie that we were sold, is that despite the sort of cultural problems, despite the increases in crime, we had to accept these millions of people because they were going to work and they're going to contribute to the tax system. And instead, we have automatically passed them on to indefinite leave to remain, which something I really think we should focus on. Requires no test, requires no tax payments, requires no proof you can speak English. You automatically get it after 5 years, whatever you have done. Surely you don't agree with that?
Many of your viewers watching right now will be in work and claiming universal credit. That's the scandal in the state.
But they're British.
The states
But they're
are having
British.
to top up people's wages because employers are not paying people enough. If employers paid people enough, they wouldn't be claiming benefits.
I agree with that. I agree that the care sector should be paying people more, but we shouldn't therefore be giving them access to
corporate welfare.
We shouldn't be giving them access to low-wage, low-skilled migration from abroad. We should be forcing them to invest in the British workforce. We've got 9 million people economically inactive in this country. You're absolutely right. That is a huge problem. But why are we undermining them and undercutting them when we're giving employers, big employers, the access to low-wage, low-skilled migration from outside of Europe? It doesn't make any sense.
That 41%, they work in care homes, they work in hospitals, they clean our streets, they pick our fruit, they work in agriculture. If what you're suggesting is that they shouldn't be here, who's going to do those jobs?
Brits that are being paid more. This is the point. Employers have been able to shirk their obligations for far too long, and the British taxpayer is having to pick up the tab.
OK, one at a time. Lara Brown.
We are living in a Ponzi scheme. We have made the decision to keep care worker salaries extremely low, lower in some cases than working in a supermarket, despite it being really difficult work, because we can bring people in from abroad to do those jobs. And now what you're saying is that because the salaries are so low, we're going to have to give people universal credit to top it up so they can live. Why not just pay care workers from Britain more money and not import millions of people from abroad?
Doesn't matter where they're from, just pay care workers more money. Doesn't matter where they're from.
Then we wouldn't need mass migration.
But it doesn't matter where they're from. They're doing the job, pay them more money, then they wouldn't take the benefits. And that's why it's a non-story.
So you can see that mass migration has been more expensive than simply paying care workers from Britain more money, which we could have done from the start.
Listen, they have come to this country because those jobs exist, OK? They should be paid more money because they're being underpaid. It's corporate welfare. We are topping up these private care companies with state subsidies, and it's an absolute scandal.
Indeed, and the scandal we will continue to debate and discuss. Up next, we're going to be joined live by Reform UK's only female Member of Parliament, Sarah Pochin, to give her unfiltered analysis of today's shocking migrant sex attacker release. You're not going to want to miss this. We're going to be hearing live from Sarah in just 1 minute. See you shortly.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather expected this weekend in the UK, you'll find some sunshine in Italy, but plenty of blustery showers about as well. And some fairly wet weather pushing through parts of Portugal, particularly to the north of Lisbon, into much of Spain, especially to the north. And France will be particularly wet with thundery rain in places. Italy, a few showers, but a gusty wind as well. Plenty of fine weather for Greece, and it stays that way through the weekend and early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, there's quite a chill in the air at the moment, and there's more cold weather to come as we go into the weekend. Also, a few showers pushing through. That's because we have a cold Arctic maritime air mass piling in from the north. Now, with that, there's also quite a bit of cloud and rain across the eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England at the moment. A lot of that is going to push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away towards the east into the North Sea as we go through the night. Elsewhere, some drier, at times clearer weather, but like I said, quite a few showers piling down on that northerly wind. Where we get some clear skies and in shelter from the brisk wind across parts of Scotland, we could see temperatures dipping close to, perhaps even a little bit below freezing. Elsewhere, because of the brisk winds, temperatures not dropping too low, but nonetheless a cold start to the day for many tomorrow. Plenty of showers piling in across northern parts of Scotland. When these reach higher ground, good chance that we're going to see some sleet and snow over the peaks in particular. Meanwhile, across Northern Ireland, it's a showery start to the day. Also showers across parts of Wales and southwest England. Across more central parts of England, it's largely dry. Some early sunshine as well. Across eastern parts, though, a bit cloudier, and it could be a bit damp first thing too. The rain, though, will clear away towards the east, and then we end up in, well, a bit of a showery setup in areas exposed to that northerly wind. So northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. Plenty of showers here, and they could still be wintry over the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, drier, sunnier, but feeling cold, especially in the wind. Could see gales in some exposed eastern coastal parts. Then a cold night as we go through into Sunday, so a bit of frost for some. And then it gets off to a fine start on Sunday, but we we are going to see cloud pushing in from the northwest, and it's going to turn wet and blustery as well. Now into next week, it's looking quite mixed, so some rain at times, but also some dry weather, and temperatures rising eventually as we go towards the end of the week. Bye-bye.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News. Now, a police manhunt is currently underway to find the Epping Hotel migrant sex attacker after he was accidentally released from jail. Haider Shkabatu was meant to be sent to an immigration detention centre to be deported out of the country, but it's understood that he was accidentally freed on Friday morning, this morning, at HMP Chelmsford. Now, Justice Secretary David Lammy has said he is appalled at the wrongful release of Epping Hotel asylum seeker, adding the convicted sex attacker must be deported for his crimes, not on our streets. Well, to discuss this shocking case, the latest example of broken Britain, is Reform MP Sarah Pochin. Sarah, should heads roll for this? And if so, which heads should roll for this?
Well, look, heads should absolutely roll for this. This is utter incompetence, and it's incompetence to do with the prison, the court system, you know, as well as the sort of like the higher level government, and what on earth is going on in terms of instructions to our justice system. But the point is, you know, why was this convicted sex offender even going to a deportation centre? They should be put, people like that should be put straight on a flight from court, from those police cells, not to even take the risk of putting them into a deportation centre where, let's face it, because of the utter incompetence of the government and the Home Office, they could take days, weeks, months to get deported, and actually, if he decides to appeal, never get deported. And I understand that this particular guy actually wants to go back to Ethiopia, which some claim as an unsafe country. So if he wants to go back, Matt, what is to stop him committing another awful sex attack on either a woman or a girl? Because all he knows is going to happen is if he gets caught, he'll just be scooped up and potentially at some point end up on a plane, which is what he wants to do anyway.
Well, indeed, Sarah, he may already be on his way back to Ethiopia. Who knows where he is? I mean, he could be anywhere. But on just reflecting perhaps on this week's events, it's not just this case, is it? We've also seen the verdict in the shocking murder trial of Rhiannon White, another illegal migrant, this time from Sudan, who was found guilty of murdering the young mother who was working at an asylum hotel. And we've had the news about Labour's one in, one out gimmick, essentially, showing that one of the people that was returned to France made his way back into the UK on a small boat. It's, I think, by all accounts, is one of the worst weeks for this Labour government, and much of it is hanging on this issue of illegal migration. So what exactly changes here with a reform government? What is a reform response to the events of this week?
What's happened to me this week? I can give you first-hand example here. So I stood up in the Houses of Parliament on Tuesday and made a speech against the new sentencing bill, which David Lammy is bringing in, and talking about, you know, this sort of sex offender type crimes. But do you know what he wrote to MPs? He talked about deporting in the bill, deporting such criminals. But then he wrote to MPs, and in the letter it actually said, but all of these these people will be able to appeal using the ECHR, the European Convention of Human Rights, using the Refugee Convention. Well, what reform will do, which we've made it very clear, is on day one, we will start the 6-month process of leaving the ECHR, because that will stop all this ridiculous appeals and appeals and appeals, all upheld, by the way, by the Home Office, by the Supreme Court. You know, what a left-wing operation that is, set up by Tony Blair. Well, we'll get rid of that.
Absolutely. Can I just ask you as well, the other big story of the week, while we've got you, obviously, has been the ongoing collapse of the national inquiry into the rape gangs. We've seen 5 victims leave that inquiry, saying they have a lack of confidence and trust in the Labour government. And there are calls within Westminster, within the House of Commons, for Jess Phillips to resign, to stand down, saying that essentially she has been, she's damaged goods within the national inquiry. What is your view as to Jess Phillips's position?
Well, again, I can give you first-hand experience. I was in the chamber with her this week, watching her dismal performance in trying to defend why there's no grooming inquiry that has started. And let's not pretend, you know, let's call it out for what it is. This should be an inquiry about British Pakistani men that have groomed and sexually abused, raped women and children. And so let's call it out for what it is. They haven't done that. They haven't even started the inquiry. Jess Phillips gave excuse after excuse after excuse. She looked so weak. She should be ashamed of herself. And now we're in a situation where we've got 2 potential chairs of that inquiry from institutions that have let these victims down, a social worker and a policeman. These victims have got no faith that that will be a fair hearing for them. It needs to be led by a proper judge that is impartial and has the power to bring these British Pakistani men into that inquiry to answer questions. No, of course, we also
saw this week, Sarah, the debate over whether the rape gangs are also operating in our capital city of London. Sadiq Khan obviously suggesting in a previous quote that he didn't think they were, but I notice at least one newspaper over the last 48 hours, London Evening Standard, has pulled together a number of quotes from social workers, charities, politicians and others saying categorically they think the rape gangs are operating in London and the capital city. Is that something that should be pulled into this national inquiry? Should we be actually holding Sadiq Khan to account on this issue?
Look, I don't know whether it should be the same inquiry, because, of course, what we don't want to do is delay, again, justice for the victims of these grooming gangs that we're talking about specifically. But let's talk about London. There's no way that London doesn't have grooming gangs. This is a problem up and down the country. People are being abused. Why would Sadiq Khan think that there's none in London? He's in absolute denial, and we know why, don't we? Because that's what props up his votes. He's had 3 terms in, and he's in because of the Muslim vote. So is he going to risk criticising his Muslim fan base by calling for an inquiry against these predominantly Pakistani British men who treat women with medieval attitudes, treat us, women and girls, like we are fodder for them to abuse. And you know what? We have got to come down hard on it. And Sadiq Khan is another one, along with Jess Phillips, that has allowed this to continue. And by the way, the Tories did nothing to sort this out in 14 years. The people need a government to come in who will stand up and be brave enough to say the things that I'm saying tonight, Matt.
Well, Sarah, we do have a statement, Sarah Pochin, we do have a statement from Justice Secretary David Lammy just regarding that case of the Epping sex attacker who has gone AWOL. David Lammy says, I'm appalled at the release in error at HMP Chelmsford. We are urgently working with the police to track him down, and I have ordered an urgent investigation. Kabati must be deported for his crimes, not on our streets. Any reaction to that statement from David Lammy, Sarah Pochin?
For a start, the Tory government and this Labour government can stop spending £15 billion on foreign aid, can stop finding £30 billion to pay the Chagos Islands, and can put all that money into getting some police on our streets so that we can find criminals like this guy. Because let's face it, there aren't enough police on our streets. So bring back police into town centres.
OK, well, that's Sarah Pochin from Reform UK. Thank you for joining us this evening. Up next, we're going to be getting a bit more reaction to these latest shocking developments that are playing out in the country tonight, in London tonight, as a migrant sex attacker is mistakenly released from prison and is yet to be found. We will see you in 1 minute.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin on GB News, the People's Channel. Now, returning to this major story tonight, a police manhunt is underway to find the Epping Hotel migrant sex attacker after he was accidentally released from jail. And we've just got this statement from Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, who says this: the fake asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a child in Epping has been released in error. How does that happen? Because the entire system is collapsing under Labour. Government mistakenly letting people out instead of deporting those they deported are coming back. Nothing of substance has been done to address the threat to women and girls living in these communities. Labour cannot run a bath. Conservatives voted against Labour's prisoner release programme because it was putting predators back on our streets. But this man has only just been convicted, a level of incompetence that beggars belief. Only Conservatives have a plan for stronger borders and public order. Well, let's bring back tonight's panel. Commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and Green Party councillor Martin Abrams. Lara, Kemi Babe not there basically saying another example of the incompetence of the British state, essentially saying heads must roll. How does this story, do you think, play out over the next 48 hours? Because on the one hand, there's can we find this guy? And we don't know if we'll be able to. Let's see. But on the other level, there is actually the deeper question about who is going to be held responsible for this very visible breakdown of the state.
I'm surprised by Kemi's statement because she seems to be blaming the early release scheme, which does have nothing to do with this story. This is a story about prison incompetence. This man was, meant to be going to a deportation centre and someone has messed up some paperwork somewhere and by incompetence has been put onto the streets. And it's important to grasp that if you're going to deal with the problem. This is going to be a very hard story for the Tories to capture because this is a story that comes down, as I was saying before, to incorrect prison releases. And those numbers started to skyrocket by about 100% in 2023-24. So they're going to have to grapple with that. Looking forward to how it plays out, I do think they'll catch him. I have little faith in the police, but I think they're going to be capable with such a massive manhunt and with so much media attention. I'm hoping that, a passerby is going to be able to call this person in and they're going to be taken back.
Martin Abrams, what we've also seen this week, which we actually haven't mentioned until now, those significant protests and riots in Ireland, which erupted after the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl by allegedly an illegal migrant. There is a risk within all of this for the government, isn't there, that this sort of ongoing display of state failure, of incompetence, of the breakdown of basic law and order may end up actually taking us back to that civil unrest that we saw after Southport, that we saw in Epping, and that we've seen in other parts of the country. A sense among millions of people out there that actually the state isn't really able to fulfil its core basic functions anymore.
Well, what we're seeing, Matt, is basically the social fabric basically unravel. But this hasn't happened over the last few weeks. This has been 40 years in the making, and I find it absolutely flabbergasting that Kemi Badenoch has the brass neck to put out a statement about Labour Party incompetence when it was her Tory party that presided over 14 years of devastating Tory austerity. If you talk to the Prison Officers Association, the union responsible for prison officers in our prisons, the one thing that they would say that they want is the prison officers' right to strike. Prison officers do not have the right to strike. And that means they're bargaining to have better conditions for their workers in prisons for inmates is completely restricted. That ban needs to be lifted immediately so that the conditions in our prisons can rapidly improve.
Lara Brown, is this just about money?
That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
Why?
What happens when prison guards go on strike? It's probably one of the most important jobs we have in this country. We already have far few prison guards and far too prison officers. I would have far more in there and have far more prisons. But you cannot...
Strike is a last resort at all times, but those collective bargaining arrangements up to that point mean that conditions for prison officers improve, mean that conditions for inmates improve, and that these mistakes would reduce massively. You've just said 300 prisoner release. Prison officers are massively stretched. Underfunded, stretched, given the right to strike, things would improve.
I've got a radical idea. I'm going to leave you to ponder this. I'm going to leave the viewers to ponder this. Let's take the £111 million that we're sending to Pakistan for condoms and contraception. Let's spend that on our prisons. What do you think about that, everybody? Let me know. Now, Patrick Christis tonight is coming up right after this show. Patrick, what have you got coming up on the show tonight?
Well, thank you very much, Matt. I'm here with my live studio audience. Fantastic, yes. And what a night it is to get the views of the great British public. An Ethiopian illegal migrant convicted child sex offender has been released by mistake. There is a manhunt on. We'll bring you the latest on that. It comes on the same day that a Sudanese asylum seeker murderer has been convicted, stabbed a mum of one to death. Also, Sadiq Khan's accused of lying about grooming gangs. Tonight, the breaking news is that the Met Police are opening 9,000 grooming gang offence cases. Did he know nothing about any of them? And also, Sir Keir Starmer is accused of lying in the House of Commons about China. That used to be a resigning matter. So, look, we've got a plethora of news topics tonight. I know that this lot are really looking forward to getting stuck into it. So is my wonderful panel. We'll be going live to the Bell Hotel in Epping as well for all of the latest fallout. How on earth has a convicted Ethiopian sex offender been allowed to prowl our streets? All right, well, everyone, thank you.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, there's quite a chill in the air at the moment and there's more cold weather to come as we go into the weekend. Also a few showers pushing through. That's because we have a cold Arctic maritime air mass piling in from the north. Now, with that, there's also quite a bit of cloud and rain across the eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England at the moment. A lot of that is going to push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away towards the east into the North Sea as we go through the night. Elsewhere, some drier, at times clearer weather, but like I said, quite a few showers piling down on that northerly wind. Where we get some clear skies and in shelter from the brisk wind across parts of Scotland, we could see temperatures dipping close to, perhaps even a little bit below freezing. Elsewhere, because of the brisk winds, temperatures not dropping too low, but nonetheless a cold start to the day for many tomorrow. Plenty of showers piling in across northern parts of Scotland. When these reach higher ground, a good chance that we're going to see some sleet and snow over the peaks in particular. Meanwhile, across Northern Ireland, it's a showery start to the day. Also showers across parts of Wales and southwest England. Across more central parts of England, it's largely dry. Some early sunshine as well. Across eastern parts, though, a bit cloudier and it could be a bit damp first thing too. The rain, though, will clear away towards the east, and then we end up in, a bit of a showery setup in areas exposed to that northerly wind. So northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. Plenty of showers here, and they could still be wintry over the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, drier, sunnier, but feeling cold, especially in the wind. Could see gales in some exposed eastern coastal parts. Then a cold night as we go through into Sunday, so a bit of frost for some. And then it gets off to a fine start on Sunday, but we are going to see cloud pushing in from the northwest, and it's going to turn wet and blustery as well. Now into next week, it's looking quite mixed, so some rain at times, but also some dry weather and temperatures rising eventually as we go towards the end of the week. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it.